Welcome to On Microsoft. Conversations with thought leaders in Microsoft technologies.
Hi, I'm Lisa Feigenbaum. I'm a program manager on the Microsoft Visual Basic team. I'm here with Paul Vick today. Paul, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been at Microsoft for quite a while. In the last 10 years, I've been working on Visual Basic as a language architect and compiler lead and that sort of thing. But I recently actually made a shift. I decided to move on from Visual Basic after a long career there and join the Oslo team, which was where I've been for several weeks, almost, I guess, about a month now.
Oh, so we're here at PDC, and there's been a lot of buzz about this. So what is Oslo? What were you excited to join?
Well, I'll give you as best I can, from my my month-long experience. Well, Oslo really. So Oslo, Oslo has sort of three pieces to it. It's a language, it's a tool, which is so there's a language M. There's a tool which is called Quadrant, and then there's a repository, a database. And I actually am working on the language. It's kind of part of the shift that I made was that I knew people on the team. We'd been talking about it, and I thought it sounded really interesting, and was looking for something new to do. So I moved over to work on that. So I actually M is really where I have had most of my experience with the Oslo product in the last month or so.
Mm-hmm. And what is M used for? What kind of programming language is that?
The purpose of M, I mean, the overall sort of goal of Oslo is really to improve the experience of working with what would be called modeling. So basically looking at how data is expressed in the database. And typically there's a lot of, typically when people have done modeling, they've usually used a lot of diagrams, a lot of visual descriptions of what the models look like, how they should be expressed in the database. And in fact, the Oslo team, when they were initially starting to look at modeling, I think they did a whole iteration looking at creating visual tools and that kind of thing. And they found that actually for a lot of programmers, just pure text, text is really the medium that developers work in, and that what they really felt they needed was a text format for talking about a model, the ways of modeling data, so how to express the structure of data that you're going to work with, either in your database or in your program. And so the core of M is a piece of the language called M schema, which allows you to describe the structure of data in a way that is very compact and easy to work with, but also translates well into the repository, into the database. So with what you do with M schema is you'll write out all your models in this nice textual format, and then you can generate a set of, SQL code that will either create storage for those models in the database, or can take data in that format and then push it into the database.
Okay, so as a developer, what will I actually do now? Once I have this schema, how do I model that data? What does this look like to me?
And that's where another part of the M language comes in. And that's actually what been working specifically on, kind of helping out since I joined the team. So M schema describes the structure of the data, and that helps you get the structure into the database. Then there's another part of the language which they're calling M grammar. And M grammar is a way of describing, basically a way of describing a grammar, a syntax that you can then use to produce data that matches the schema that you created. So, basically, a lot of times what you will see is, you'll create a schema and then you'll have some XML format. You'll have lots and lots of angle brackets everywhere. And the other thing that we tend to find is that people tend to want to talk about their data in a very natural way, in a syntax that's kind of a lot of times close to the programming languages that they use, or use the terminology that they have, and so and use a more natural sort of human readable format. So XML is a wonderful sort of transport format. It's a great way of storing data, but it's not a particularly human friendly, and so what mGrammar allows you to do then is to define essentially a domain-specific language, a little language for how your data is going to look, and then a mapping from that into a format that can be translated into the database, transmitted to the database. So like the way the kind of the workflow would go is first you would create the model in mSchema, you would deploy that into your database, then you would create a grammar for your data, and then you would execute that on a data file or on incoming data, and that would then get sent to the database.
I see.
So a lot of what I've been working on is, I mean, in a lot of ways, the problem of mGrammar is sort of a very textbook compiler problem, which is, you know, given a language grammar, how do you turn that into a component that can understand that grammar and then produce output? So it's, you know, pretty much every programming language, Visual Basic has a parser like that, and that's what really the purpose of mGrammar is for. So that's kind of the short term. That's sort of the immediate goals of the Oslo project, is really sort of, you know, creating a lot of advancements for in the modeling area and making it easy to create database models and get data in there. I think longer term, it's sort of the goal or the ideal of the team, really, as best as I can see it, and sort of a personal passion, is to look more generally at how people work with data. Before I worked on the Visual Basic team, I worked on Access, which was a wonderful experience. And you know, Access, one of the great things about Access is that it had this really nice blending of data storage, data querying, and programming language. So, you know, there was a database engine, and then there was VBA, and there was a really nice melding between those, and a very comfortable interplay between, you know, writing data-centric applications. And I think, you know, in a lot of ways, what's coming out of Oslo with M and then the Quadrant tool and the repository is sort of a first step towards a new way of doing data-centric applications. But I think there's a lot of really exciting possibilities that sort of is, you know, this is just the first step along that path. So
great. Well, it sounds like you have an exciting next few years, maybe 10 years to come.
It could very well be. It's it has been a very good experience. I definitely miss the old VB team a lot. Although actually, I mean, I would also add that it's not like I've really totally left. I still go over. I
still see you in the halls.
Exactly. Right. I still go over for design meetings, and I you know, I will never completely give up, you know, my relationship with VB. But it has been a lot of fun. There are a lot of interesting people who work on Oslo as well, and so it's been a real positive experience.
Great. Well, good luck with everything.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.
For more information, visit onpodcastweekly.com and subscribe to all our podcasts. Brought to you by the publishing imprints and information portal of Pearson Education.